You don't have to have been on the battlefield to face challenges in today's society. A recent lawsuit filed against the state of Oregon claims that thousands of disabled individuals are unfairly stuck at dead-end jobs at sheltered workshops. The lawsuit is aimed at forcing the state to help some disabled clients find mainstream work. Our reporting team of Shannon McGuire and Heather Roberts put this story together. Now joining us with more is Shannon McGuire. Now, Shannon, what was the most shocking aspect of this story?
Well, I thought the most shocking aspect of the story was that the workers are paid sub-minimum wage, and that doesn't mean $5 an hour, that means 25 cents an hour or less. And right now that's legal in America, so that's one of the issues that the case is grappling with. The other thing is that the attorneys on the case actually don't want the case to go to trial. They want to work with the state to figure out what would be best for the disabled workers.
All right, well, let's take a look.
Over the last 30 years, the disability rights movement has gained traction in America. Oregon was once a frontrunner in the movement. But a recent lawsuit is raising questions as to whether Oregon is doing enough to help disabled citizens. Lane versus Kitzhaber centers around the idea that the State Department of Human Services does not provide enough options for people with disabilities to work in mainstream settings. Instead, they work in sheltered workshops with their disabled peers.
Now, many of the professionals who are in this field are nice people, but in fact they're locked into a 1950s paradigm of service. They do provide some service, as I said, they get people out of their homes, but they are not providing a road independence.
Andrea Musicant is the program director for Lane County's Developmental Disability Services. She says her department develops individual plans for the disabled.
Obviously, as much input as possible from the person with developmental disability. And that is how things are directed in our services.
The system is designed to protect individuals' interests, but officials at Disability Rights Oregon say too many people are falling between the cracks into places called sheltered workshops.
And if a person isn't offered those services in a way that is meaningful, then they end up having to use more segregated sheltered workshops.
Michael Bailey's daughter was offered a position at a sheltered workshop after she graduated from high school.
There was a very impressive attempt to funnel her into a sheltered workshop.
If you go into a sheltered workshop, it's mostly like, you're not experiencing anything. You're not out in the world doing stuff all the time, with other people who don't have disabilities.
At the workshops, groups of people with disabilities do different tasks, such as folding boxes, for a sub-minimum wage. Eleanor decided a sheltered workshop was not the best place for her.
I'm the kind of person that like to get together, have coffee with you.
Eleanor now works at New Seasons Market in Portland, stocking shelves and cleaning up. But Eleanor's situation does not represent everyone in the disabled community. Sheltered workshops may be a good option for those who need constant assistance or are simply unable to work in a competitive and social environment.
We try to focus on what the individual wants. And sometimes, obviously there's going to be times when somebody wants to be an astronaut, and, we got to look around that. Just like there's going to be some things that are potentially unobtainable, but the team will try to do the best to come to something close to that.
Not everyone in the disabled community is pleased with the lawsuit. In a letter to the Oregonian, John and Sharon Wilkins criticized the suit, saying their daughter is happy at the sheltered workshop where she is employed. Our daughter views her supervisors as loved mentors. In a sheltered workshop, the clients are protected from terrible violations they might endure on the streets or at home. She does indeed do repetitive tasks, but our daughter is happy at the sheltered workshop. But Disability Rights Oregon stresses they're not trying to eliminate the workshops.
Some people have said that, this case is about closing all the sheltered workshops. But right now, what we're talking about is people having meaningful choice in terms of how they want to spend their day and how they want to work. And that's what we're trying to get to.
Oregon's Human Services Department says they're listening to everyone. Oregon continues to believe that the best way to address these issues is through a stakeholder process, which takes into account a spectrum of views rather than one point of view. We remain committed to continuing the efforts that began well before this lawsuit was filed. Disability Rights Oregon has negotiated with the state for the past year and hopes that the lawsuit will never hit the courtroom floor.
sometimes these things can go on for years. So what we're hoping, of course, is that it doesn't. We're hoping that we can come to an agreement, and the sooner the better.
Thanks to Shannon and Heather for that story. The Oregon Ducks